Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Cosy Corner. We have a wonderful half hour of music lined up for you. On my left I have John Duffy from Mayo living in Lanesborough, and on my right I have Noel Carberry from Bohan in County Longford on pipes, and Gerry Bohan from Leitrim but now living in Newtown Cashel, and he is on flute. So if I could begin with you, Noel, when I travel around the country to Flas and people ask me where I'm from and I tell them I'm from Longford, inevitably they say, oh, you must know Noel Carberry, the piper. And I know you Noel to see, and I've seen you play in sessions, but I don't really know you. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, the first thing I'm not so sure is it a good or a bad thing that everybody knows me, but I don't know, I suppose I'm playing the pipes for the last 30 years or more anyway, you know, and got around a few places around the country and met great people through the music and met great friends, and that was wonderful. Yeah, it was a great scene to get into, the traditional music scene, you know, it's mighty altogether, yeah.
You're the son of a very famous piper, Peter Carberry. Tell me a little bit about your father.
Well, my father, he was, I suppose he got the interest in the Yellow Pipes itself. He was at a match in Pierce Park in Longford Town here way back in the 1930s, and he saw one of the great, as they were called, the travelling pipers, Johnny Dordan. He was playing at the, you know, collecting as people would be going into the match and out, you know, whatever, but he was playing tunes, and my father saw the pipes for the first time. You know, it was a time when there was no television, you know, there was no radio in anyhow, so he saw this instrument for the first time and he was amazed with it. So from then, I suppose he was playing whistle and that, and there were whistles that they used to make themselves, from the elderberry tree, the bull tree as they used to call it, and they used to cut out the middle and then bore the holes and make whistles from that. Now, how in tune they were, I don't know, but but he got the love of the pipes from seeing Johnny Doran that time, and he sold a heifer then at one stage then, and got his first set of pipes, and that was it. Things were downhill after that.
That's an amazing story, and I know that the tradition of pipe playing he passed on to yourself, but he's also passed it on to young Kevin Barry Carberry. I talked to him recently, and he remembers his grandfather Peter teaching him how to play the pipes.
Yeah, and my father was determined to get one of us anyway to get the disease anyway. So I was the youngest of 6 of our family. So it was do or die with me. The rest of them escaped, but I got the disease.
It's a very difficult instrument to play.
It is, I suppose. Starting off, I suppose it's difficult. Transition from whistle to pipes. I suppose the hardest part is trying to remember to keep the bag filled. But it's just practice like everything else. Myself, I'd say the fiddle is a more difficult instrument. I'd say, but no, you get used to it after a while. Anyway, loads of practice. Anyway,
Not being a Longford native myself, I wouldn't really know, but is there much of a piping tradition back through the years in Longford?
Well, so much as way back, there's been references to various pipers and that. Now, straight off, I can't remember names, but back into the 1800s and 1700s. But at the time, then it was a lot of travelling pipers were coming through the area and that, and of course, like as well as the fairs and that, they used to visit the houses of the gentry and that as well, where you might get a night playing some music and that, So it was, I suppose, the travelling pipers brought a lot of the music around the area and that. But then, I suppose my father and a friend of his, Willie Reynolds from Westmeath and that, they used to invite pipers in as well, to play at various, I suppose, areas they used to call them, like sports and field days and that, where you'd have concerts and dancing and music and that, So they had Leo Rowsome down at a few of these as well. So he was the king of the pipers at the time, And he was the only pipe maker in the country at one stage, And until the 1960s, they formed the Peabody Uilleann, and this kicked off the whole interest in the I suppose keeping the uilleann pipes alive.
Yes.
And the making of it and that as well, So here we are now. So that's it.
So thanks to the Carberry family, they're keeping the tradition of piping really alive in Longford.
We're trying our best. Yeah.
You have another set of tunes from me, Noel.
We have indeed, surely, yeah. We play these tunes. They're a set of reels that my father and myself recorded one time. It's the first tune is called "Boil the Breakfast Early," and there's another 2 tunes after that, and we're not sure which of them is called "The Ladies' Pantalettes," but I think it's the last one. I'm not sure, but as for the other tune, I can't remember the name of it anyway. It's a long time since I saw the CD, so I can't remember. So we'll have a go with these, lads. Yeah. Boil the breakfast early. Yeah.
It gives me great pleasure now to introduce Paddy Hanley from Arda. Paddy is an All-Ireland finalist in this year's score competition. Paddy, you're very welcome to the Cosy Corner. What are you going to sing for me tonight?
Bees Wing. I was 18 when I came to town. They called it the summer of love. There was burning babies, burning flags, and the hawks against the doves. I took a job at the steamin' way down in Grafton Street, and I fell in love with the laundry girl who was working next to me. Brown hair zigzagged around her face and the look of half surprise. Like a fox caught in the headlights, there was animal in her eyes. She said to me, oh, can't you see that I'm not the factory kind? And if you don't take me out of here, I'll lose my mind. She was a rare thing, as fine as a bee's wing. So fine a breath of wind might blow her away. She was a lost child, she was running wild. She said, so long as there's no price on love, I'll stay. And I wouldn't want her any other way. We busked around the market towns, through picking down a Mayo. We could tinker pots and pans and knives wherever we go. We were camping down the Bower one time and the work was mighty good. Oh, she wouldn't wait for the harvest, I thought we should. I said to her, we'll settle down and get a few acres dug, with a fire burning in the hearth and babbies on the rug. She said, oh man, you foolish man, that surely sounds like hell. And you might be lord of half the world, you'll not own me as well. She was a rare thing, as fine as a bee's wing. So fine a breath of wind might blow her away. She was a lost child, she was running wild. She said, so long as there's no price on love, I'll stay. And I wouldn't want her any other way. We were drinking more in those days, our tempers reached a pitch. Like a fool I let her run away when she took the rambling itch. And the last I heard she was living rough, back in the Dublin streets, with a bottle of Powers in her pocket, a wolfhound at her feet. And they say that she got married once to a man called Romney Brown. Even the gypsy caravan was too much like settling down. They say her rose is faded, rough weather and hard booze. Oh, maybe that's the price you pay for the change that you refuse. She was a rare thing, as fine as a bee's wing, and I miss her more than ever words can say. If I could just taste all of her wildness now, if I could hold her in my arms today, I wouldn't want her any other way. And if I could hold her in my arms today, I wouldn't want her any other way.
back to part 2. Maeve Till from Mullingar Harp School is going to introduce her group to me now. Maeve, you're very welcome to the Cosy Corner.
Thanks, Anna.
Maeve, who's playing with you tonight?
Tonight we have Grace Keane, Shannon Brown and Hannah Tyrrell.
And what are you going to play for us?
I'm going to play Lord Galway's Lamentation. Grace and me and Hannah will play Lord's Song of the Chanter, and Shannon will play King of the Fairies.
Okay, thank you, girls. the heavenly sound of the harp there. Gerry, you're from Leitrim. What part of Leitrim are you from?
I'm from Estlin Bridge, and south side of Mohill in South Leitrim.
Right, and you come from a very musical family.
I wouldn't say they were a very musical family. There would have been music in it, and the box would have been the instrument of the males, shall we say. My grandfather and father would have played. My father just played a very small bit in the box, but his aunt, my grandfather's sister, was a very good fiddle player.
Right.
So they were the instruments, and.
How did you end up with the flute?
Well, I went to Mrs. Moffat in Drummond we used to go up there and play with her under 14 bands, and she had very good bands at the time. We actually won the All Ireland later, under 14, and to kind of beef up the band, I was given a choice of playing the flute or the banjo. And they were needed for the band, and I took the flute, knowing nothing about either, and I know very little more about it today maybe, but anyway, that's how I started playing the flute, and that's a long time ago now. That was back in the mid-60s.
Right. You came then to live in Longford?
I came to live in Longford, in South Longford, Newtown Cashel, and I was very fortunate that I came there. It's a good musical area, you know. They're very fortunate to play with Noel here and Johnny, two of the finest musicians around the country. And they're from down, Johnny is living there, and of course Noel, as he said earlier, is from there. But there is a great tradition around there, in that, you know, you have Hanleys and Casey's and lots of music out there as well. You know, Dan Farrell, God, we got him, he was a good fiddle player, and it's a great old tradition there in Newtown, and it's continued now. You know, they have a session there every Friday night, or the last Friday of every month, in the local pub in Newtown Cashel, and it's a very good session, you know. And I would meet the boys as well in Lanesborough. You know, they have a session there every Wednesday night in Clark's.
Right, so the session in Lanesborough is in Clark's.
That's right, yeah.
And the pub then in Newtown Cashel, which pub do you have the session?
Well, there's you can't go astray. There's only the one pub there.
Oh, right.
It's called The Local, and it's run by Gerry and Sheila Mulvihill there, and they have a session there every last Friday of the last Friday of each month. So that's where that is.
So if anybody wants to catch up with you, that's where they'll find you.
Well, that's where they'll find us. Yeah.
You have another set of tunes for me.
Yeah, we're going to play two hornpipes now. The first one is Alexander's, and what's the name of the second? Noel,
Chief O'Neill's, no?
Chief O'Neill's, I think that's it. Yeah.
And there were tunes. I suppose John Skelly is a piper from Newtown Cashel. He brought them into the session, you know. So, so we'll dedicate these to John.
It's brilliant. that's just magical. John, you're from Mayo. What part of Mayo are you from?
Well, I started my life in Claremorris, County Mayo, many years ago, but left it as a young child, and via a pathway of Mullingar ended up living in Longford, where I grew up. So that's the start of my life.
And how did you start off playing music?
Well, I come from a house that always loved music, fun and dancing. So it's not a long musical lineage as regards instruments, but there was always a great love of Irish music and all music indeed in our house, and great respect. So that's where I come from. And at the age of 10, I began playing guitar. I suppose it was all the popular music of the time, including rock and roll and everything else in between. So I eventually, thankfully, found Irish music and began playing guitar and banjo at that stage. Right. And it brought me on to loads of tunes, loads of people, and loads of enjoyment, I have to say.
It's taken you all over the world, yourself and Noel. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, thankfully, we spent many years playing in a band called Rig the Jig, and it brought us round the world, at least once anyway. And what a time we had of it. We were in Asia, America, Europe, all over the place. And it was folk and trad music, a mixture of both. So what a time we had, and 6 great people in the band, and had many years of great times.
Well, I suppose looking back, you know, do you have any outstanding memory of a place that you might have been?
I think that probably Hong Kong or Taiwan. We did a residency in Taiwan in a hotel, and it had been my first time in the East. And I have to say it was an experience. Our music was very well accepted, and we were enthralled by the place. So I'd say that's probably one of the highlights. Yeah.
I just love the idea of, you know, the trad music from Longford, you know, just spreading out to the 4 corners of the earth. You know, that's just a wonderful image.
Yeah, we set out to conquer the world, but we did a little bit of it and enjoyed our time doing it, yes. Yeah.
Well, sadly, gentlemen, you know, we're coming to the close of this week's programme. Our time is running out. Noel and Gerry and John, it has been a pleasure having you. To those of you who have been watching at home, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you can join us next week for another episode of the Cosy Corner. John, you're going to play us out with a set of tunes. What are they?
I can't put the names on the tunes. I can't probably put the name on 3 tunes anyway. I think, Noel, have you got them?
Well, Gerry is the guy that introduced these tunes to us, so we'll let Gerry.
Yeah, well, the three tunes are "I Surely" is the name of the first one. It should have been played by Paddy, one of the great fiddlers, and after that we'll play 2 Leitrim tunes, or tunes that are very popular down there anyway, John Creamer's, and finishing up then with the House on the Hill.
It has been a pleasure having you, gentlemen.
Thanks very much, Andy.
Thank you.